This is against the spirit of our two nations' enduring friendship and fundamentally at odds with the benefits that our economic partnership has delivered over more than 70 years.
Well, it's official. The US is going to slap Australia with 25% tariffs on our steel and aluminium exports. No exemption will be granted. But why has that happened and how is it significant? Well, Australia's been battling pretty hard over the last few weeks to try to score a carve-out to those tariffs that are going to apply to a whole bunch of countries. But despite some pretty high-level meetings, including one between Kevin Rudd and the US Trade Minister, we didn't manage to land an exemption. And on Wednesday, the US said as much. There's a lot of reasons that this isn't good for the relationship. A huge one, as the Prime Minister has said, is that it goes against the free trading principles that the US and Australia share. The US and Australia also have what's called a special relationship, which is another way of saying we're very close allies. And Albanese has said, well, this isn't how you treat your close allies. He's called the decision disappointing and basically said some pretty strong things that would mean if he is re-elected at the election, well, it might make for a pretty awkward first meeting with Donald Trump, whenever that might be.
It is disappointing. Australia has a close relationship with the United States. Friends need to act in a way that reinforces to our respective populations the fact that we are friends. This is not a friendly act.
Despite the very obvious bilateral impact, there are of course some dollar figures to go with this. Now, those tariffs are going to affect the steel and aluminium exports we have with the US, and they're worth respectively $600 million a year and about $400 million a year. Now, $1 billion a year doesn't sound great, particularly off the back of a cost of living crisis, but it does make up for less than 1% of our total exports every year. So the concern isn't necessarily the economic hit of just these tariffs. What the concern is what comes next. Steel and aluminium might not be where it stops, and the US has already indicated it's looking at other products like copper and industries like pharmaceutical and agriculture. So the concern is the economic hit is yet to come through both those kinds of tariffs on Australia, but also the flow-on effects from China, for example, that will also suffer under these economic sanctions.
We'll continue to advocate for Australia's interests. It took many months last time around for the exemption to be granted to Australia. Now, I will continue to act in Australia's national interest, and I'll continue to talk Australia up. And the products and resources that we have for the world, I'll talk them up. I'll leave the talking down to the other side of politics, which is not in Australia's national interest.